now watching The Wash Daily. Today in news, Nevada's Governor Steve Cesal is proud to announce that his cannabis program is doing a lot of good for the community. They were able to bring in $36 million last year selling cannabis in Nevada. He said that money is supporting programs in areas that are hardest hit by poverty, also areas which have had a disproportionate amount of arrests for cannabis offenses. Cesal is very proud of his program, and he says his program is going nowhere as long as they're able to sell cannabis, that they're going to be able to help the community. Another part of his plan is record expungements. He has expunged the records of over 15,000 people in Nevada, and he's really looking at the disproportionate problem of selective enforcement of cannabis laws and drug laws. Also in news, the Journal for the International Forum for Respiratory Research has put out a report on cannabis and vaping. It's hard to remember back in 2019, the world was very different, and one of the things that was happening was people were having trouble with vapes. Some people were getting severe asthmatic-like symptoms from the use of vape cartridges. A new study published in Inhalation Toxicology was looking at the ingredients in vape cartridges. One of the things they were looking at was propylene glycol. An animal study used mice were exposed to propylene glycol. They didn't exhibit any symptoms. However, they did exhibit respiratory symptoms when exposed to phytol, a naturally occurring terpene in some strains of cannabis. When the mice were exposed to the phytol, over time, there were respiratory issues present, and there weren't any when exposed to just the propylene glycol. There's been some suspicion around whether or not propylene glycol may have been the problem for the vape-related injuries, but it's looking now that it might not be, that it might be closely related to some of the naturally occurring terpenes that can exist in cannabis. Also in news, on his last day in office, President Trump grants clemency to dozens of people who are serving sentences for so-called cannabis crimes. On the list was one man from Maine who was a paraplegic. He's been serving about 10 years in jail for cannabis possession, and he was looking at another 15 or so years. He's now a free man. While dozens of folks did receive pardons, saving them from excessive amounts of jail time, one of the people who didn't get a pardon was Lou Scarmazzo. Scarmazzo was a legal operator. He had a legal cannabis shop in California. He was federally charged with cannabis distribution, but the thing is, he was operating a legal business in his state. It was state legal cannabis. So he wasn't violating any state laws. He was only violating federal laws. He's serving another 10 years in prison. He's still in prison for a long time. It's very concerning for people who are now in the cannabis market. Another person who wasn't pardoned, who really should have been, was Ross Ulbricht. Now, Ross Ulbricht was the person who created the website Silk Road. For creating a website, he's serving 80 years in a Brooklyn prison. He's a non-violent offender, and it's even questionable if he actually even broke any laws. While it's good news some of these people are freed, it's really such a hypocritical thing that we have so many people still in prisons for cannabis, while so many of the states are using cannabis to bail themselves out of financial trouble and are bringing in billions of dollars. The federal government's got people in prison. At the same time, they're taxing the cannabis sales from all the states that have legal cannabis. It's wildly hypocritical and completely immoral. It's a shame that we allow this to happen. Thanks for watching The Wash Daily.